Greetings and salutations. My name is Tiara Jackson, and we have Kimberly Christopher with us today. Now, she a straight boss, y'all, and she helped me get my career right. Kimberly Christopher is a career strategist with domain expertise in multiple HR functions. She is highly adept in developing action plans in support of her clients' career goals and desire for holistic alignment. Kim contributes to workplace-related podcasts and publications, offering advice on career strategy, salary negotiation, which is important because you need your coins, and workplace-related issues. She resides in North Carolina. So to connect with her on self-discovery, career development, and compensation matters, you can find her on cocaptain.co. I'll also have that link for you all in the comments area. But thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to have you with us, Kimberly.
I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're gonna have a good time. So I want you to share with us, how did you get to where you are today, this journey of helping others find helping others being holistic in their careers?
Sure. Well, I'm actually a trained HR practitioner. So in 2006, I finished my MBA in HR management. And my goal really was to try and help organizations maximize their human capital, right? Treat people as people and allow them the chance to grow, to explore, and to give them the tools to do that, right? And so my goal was, I'm going to move up the ladder. I'm going to become, C-suite, CHRO, high ranking VP, HR leader. And so my first job in HR was recruiting. Loved that job.
Okay.
I moved into compensation, moved into some project management, but moved into the regional HR manager role, which is that generalist role is such a meaty role. You have a lot. It's nonstop action, right? There's the strategy, but there's tactical pieces. You're reactive oftentimes, but you've got to be proactive, and you're managing policy, people, and process, and business, and working with business leaders. And so really full roles for me. And I'll tell you, life, what's the expression? Man plans and God laughs, right? So I had become a mother in 2015 and remembered when my son was about 9 months old. We were going through a reduction in force, and unfortunately, so as part of the HR team, I was tasked with pulling together, working with leaders to pull together their list of impacted people and looking at salary and performance history, just to make sure that who leaders suggest for reduction in force, there's a business case. But HR people typically do not select those who should be reduced, okay? So it's always the business leaders, right? People think it's big bad HR. Absolutely not.
Thank you for dispelling that, though. Thank you for dispelling that.
Yes, I mean, I did my part, and the way I've always been an advocate for the people, and I advocated for about 3 or 4 people, and I said to the attorneys, I don't agree with this decision. Here's why. And so I do my part to on the back end, right? I remember it was probably about midnight. I was on the couch working with my laptop, getting this list together. My son had just had he was just crying or whatever. So I checked up on him. I sat back down and I said, this is not what I wanted my career to feel like and to be like. I'm in the middle of a reduction. The biggest reduction this company had had in years. I'm a new mom. I have a different perspective. I'm soft because I have a mom. I'm a mom. Right. I'm all different now.
Right.
And that's part of it. Things happen to us as people, and we show up to work differently. So I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. But again, on paper, my background was this. I was senior HR manager, and all the trappings that comes with that, right? And so it would be foolish to try and shift, right? You ask your friends, you ask your family, just stick to it, just find another company. And so we had the reduction, and I remember one of the women who was impacted, who was on the RIF list, was an employee who I supported, she was pregnant and she was due November 14th. We were scheduled to have notification meetings with those employees on November 7th. I said, I am not telling a pregnant woman a week before she's due that she's losing her job. And that was one, I didn't even agree with that decision. I said, I'm not doing it. So someone else did it, planned on doing it. Thankfully, listen to this. Thankfully, the woman who was pregnant, her name was Kim. Kim delivered her baby October 31st. I will never forget. 2 weeks early, healthy baby girl, healthy mama. But that also meant that she was exempt from the reduction, right? She went on mat leave. She got her full 12 weeks of paid mat leave, right? And she got her severance package, right?
Oh,
right, yes. And didn't have to go through the stress of being told you were losing your job as a pregnant woman. And that for me was pivotal. I do not want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I know the more, as my career advanced, as I moved to different leadership positions, I knew I would have to make those tough decisions all the time. I knew I'd have to bend to the whims of business leaders, because if they wanted someone gone, it's really tough to make a business case unless there are legal reasons why you can't. Right. And granted, you're probably thinking, well, she was pregnant. How could she be reduced? The pregnancy had nothing to do with the reduction in force. Actually, no one knew until I mentioned she's pregnant. They didn't know that she was pregnant. So that's a whole nother matter.
Right.
But again, I said, okay, well, I know what I don't want to do. Now I've got to get on this journey of self-discovery and really figure out what do you want to do? So that was for me, that was very pivotal. And I spent lots of time looking inward, really just having some quiet time, taking inventory, being honest about what are the things I'm good at? What do I like to do? What are my talents? And then how then do I think about repackaging those in a way that, again, serves the people in the way that I want to. Yeah. So I thought about it and I thought, I really enjoy being a recruiter. I enjoy training. I enjoy being creative. I enjoy interacting with people. I don't like being the bad guy. I like to develop people and help them figure out what works for them. And so career strategist, career navigator is where I landed. So I've been enjoying it. It's just been perfect for me. So I've been really enjoying this journey so far.
I've been enjoying it too, because I've benefited from it. I've benefited from it. When I first saw you at the job that we were at, the first thing that happened was one of my friends Skyped me. Well, I think it was Skyped me and was like, did you see the Black woman in HR? Do you see how, it was like a breath of fresh air. But I think the thing that just made it so amazing was the fact that you knew your stuff. You were on it. You were like, what? You were just on it. You were able to help us figure out what to do in our careers. And when you and I had the conversation with my career, you broke it down: day-to-day responsibilities, month-to-month responsibilities by quarter, yearly responsibilities. I have yet to have a person that break the roles and responsibilities down to me like that, because that lets me know that, one, you've done your work, and two, with doing your work, you have a certain confidence, so you flow in that. Like, that's your bread and butter. So I love it too, because you helped me figure out what I wanted, but also what I didn't want it, and how, like you say, how to package it too. So y'all, I love that. I love it. So my next question to you is, what does living a crowned life mean to you?
Oh, that's such a great question. I really think it goes back to alignment. It's, each of us is here, whether we believe it or know it in this moment, we are all here with a purpose. We have something to do. We have some things to do. Alignment. And it may take us a while to know what that is, but we're all here endowed with talents, interests, skills, personality, that are all meant to serve the community, to serve others, to serve And so for me, living the crown life means to to fall into alignment with that higher purpose. That way listen, he came so we could have life more abundantly. And it's not always about, tangible items. You can have a big house and big cars and be miserable. We know people like that, right? Yeah. Miserable. So for me, it's abundance. Do you get up? Do you wake up feeling joyful? Do you feel gratitude? Do you enjoy what you do day to day? Do you like the kind of work that you do? Do you like how you serve others? Do you go to bed feeling fulfilled? Are you at peace with your life, with who you are? And for me, that's an abundant life to me. Mm-hmm. And so it's about finding yourself, really reconnecting, taking off any of the stuff that your family says you should do, or society, or your organization, church members. Everyone has an opinion about what you should do with your life, don't they? And I think they mean well. Bless their hearts. I do believe people mean well. At the end of the day, though, it's about you. It's your life. It's really about how do you listen to that little, still, small, that quiet voice that says, try this, do that, don't go there. Because that, I think, will lead you to the path that is unique for you and unique to you.
I think that's so important, because sometimes we get caught up in what others say. I had someone to tell me that I should go to school to be a lawyer. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, well, you'll make a lot of money. I said, but I'm going to spend a lot of my time there. He was just like, well, that doesn't matter. At some point you could, yeah. And I was just like, I know you mean well, and you're trying to get my pockets fed, but I'm also trying to just enjoy what I do. Right. And I think that that's important for us to, like you say, listen to that voice in us, because sometimes the voices around us could be so loud and we're going and taking different routes. And at the end of the day, we don't even recognize who we are. Mm-hmm. You didn't become a clone of somebody else, and you don't even enjoy looking at what you see in the actual mirror.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So I think that is so, so, so important. We're going to transition into our jewel dropping time. And this is the place where you would give us some jewels in our crowns in regards to interviewing strategies. So the first question I have for you is, how do you effectively prepare for an interview? What steps do we need to take to even get there?
Great question. I'm gonna shift to my notes, because notes are important.
Okay, I'm gonna be taking notes too. So
okay, I want to just start first by framing the interview. The interview is your time to present your knowledge, your skills, your abilities in such a way that you can be selected for the position, while simultaneously trying to figure out, as a job seeker, if this employer is a good match for you. Right? That's good. You want to be honest and be prepared. So many of us, people who look like me especially, forget that this is a conversation, that this is a bi-directional conversation. So you as a job seeker should be asking as many questions as they're asking of you. You bring your talents, your time to the table. And so many of us just have been conditioned to think that we are lucky to be selected, when in fact we are the ones with gifts and talents and skills that we bring, and you may not be able to articulate those initially, but we have so much to bring to the employer. So keeping that in mind, this is really your chance to vet them while they're vetting you. Okay. You do want to be honest and be prepared. So just keeping those sort of high level as we talk through the recommendations. So I recommend, and I'm envisioning this is maybe the interview after you've had the phone screen, and they say, we think you're a fit, let's move you to the next round of interviewing. So this is where I'm thinking we're at step 2 in the process.
Okay.
So you should have 2 things in front of you during the interview: a resume, your resume, and a copy of their job description, their posting. Okay. So just have that. So the first thing you want to do is be comfortable articulating your value proposition, right? So this is like an elevator pitch about why you're a strong fit for the job. So what does that look like? That includes statements about your strengths and how they relate to the job. So things like, I'm a strategic problem solver who is really adept at understanding how to recognize or identify small problems and fix those before they become big problems.
Big problems, okay.
Something like that. So you want to say what your strength is, I'm a strategic problem solver. And then you want to talk about how you can, how you've used that, how you can use that to the benefit of the employer. And be ready with specific examples. And again, we want to be honest too. So we don't want to stretch the truth. Be very, which is easy to do when you really when you want to sell yourself. It's easy to say, yeah, I saved my company $1 million, and really it was just $10. But still, that's a good example.
Right. That's a big stretch, though.
Big stretch.
Okay.
But be ready with, number 2, be ready with specific examples, right? So many employers use behavioral interviews. And they're seeking specific examples of how you've done something, right? That old STAR method, the situation, task, action, and results, right? So be ready to answer questions like, tell me about a time when you solved a problem. Tell me about a time when you were able to work with a team to accomplish a goal, right? Things like that. You want to be able to talk about what that situation was, where you were working, what the issue was, what actions you took,
right,
and then what the outcomes were, right? So making sure that those outcomes are measurable. So we finished the project 2 weeks early, we finished the project on time, we finished the project under budget, et cetera, et cetera. So be very specific.
So with using the STAR method, I know it's the situation, task, action, and a result. Sometimes we don't like to brag on ourselves because we want to be humble. How do we overcome that? Because the interview is a time for you to show that I've done this, but sometimes we get in the interview and want to be just a tad bit modest and not tell the extent of the impact that we made.
That's such a great question. And I'm literally working right now on a presentation called How to Promote Yourself Without Sounding Like a Jerk. Because we don't promote, especially people who look like me and you, we don't promote ourselves because no one really showed us how, right? Or there are just so many ideas about people who self-promote. Oh, you're being pompous, you need to be humble. You're not being, Christ-like. You're being arrogant. Exactly. I've heard so many things, right? But I want to talk about a definition that I love. It's Merriam-Webster. I literally was just looking at this the other day. I promise this is just so wonderful. If you keep this definition of self-promotion anchored, I think this will help remove any doubt. It should help remove any doubt. So Merriam-Webster defines self-promotion as the act of furthering one's growth, advancement, or prosperity.
Ooh.
That's it. And so what's key about the self-promotion piece is that you're delivering facts. It's like, I don't know if you remember watching, there was that movie called Anchorman a long time ago. Will Ferrell played this Anchorman. And he would always say, I'm kind of a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal. Which is an opinion, right? And that's and you're thinking, ooh, that guy is really a jerk. When you're self-promoting during the interview, your goal is to provide them facts so that they can say, oh, Tandra is a big deal. She's done this, she's done that, and she can help us with X, Y, and Z projects, right? So self-promotion does not have to be a bad thing. It's about having 3 things, self-promotion. It's about having content, having facts, having truth, not opinion. You also want to make sure that you focus on yourself, not your team member, right? So if you're looking at like an internal promotion, an internal interview, what you don't want to do is say, well, yeah, I sold 100 widgets and my coworker Paula only sold, 10. You don't want to do that.
Everybody under the bus.
Exactly. That's what makes you look
Gotcha.
like a jerk, right? So it's
Okay.
content.
Okay.
Delivery, it's about making sure that you are knowing, be intentional. Do you know when to self-promote? So if someone says good morning, well, I just sold a whole bunch of widgets. Well, I didn't ask you that, right? So so make sure that your delivery is timely. Your delivery is actually authentic to who you are. So if I'm not a very loud, shouty person, I'm not a very stern, aggressive person. So I'm not going to say, well, I just did X, Y, and Z. I'm going to say it like I would normally say, hey, I had an idea. So I put together this marketing plan to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And the feedback has been really good so far.
Okay.
Deliver it in a way that's natural to you. And then that third push, that fuel that we need for effective self-promotion is confidence. We got to have that confidence.
You got to have the confidence.
You do. And organically, or confidence, good organic confidence comes by pulling forward any past successes, right? So think about when you were just on fire. How did you feel about that? Like, what were you going through? Think about the time when you landed a major deal. You really did. You moved through a very difficult period, and you think about that. Say, you know what? I did it back then. I can do it again, right? So that's such a great question. We do often struggle, but I'll tell you what, the interview is the perfect time to self-promote. You don't want to be a jerk about it, but it's about having the facts. It's about delivering it in a way that is authentic to who you are. And it's about saying, you know what, I'm going to stand firm in this because this is true. This is who I am. And I believe I can offer you a great deal.
This. Okay. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. And I love the Webster's version of defining self-promotion, because in culture, we don't think of it like that. We think of promotion as being arrogant or, like you said, a jerk. But I do think when you lead with facts instead of feelings, you can get it done. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the ways in which I interview now. It's a different type of confidence because I'm leading with facts and I'm telling you what I've done. And we can't compete that. That's what I done. That's what I did. And that's what I accomplished. Now, whether you believe I did it or not, that's on you. But not only am I telling you what happened, but I have the facts and figures to back it up. So I think that's really, really, really important. So my next question, well, first of all, were you done with that part?
One more thing really quickly.
Okay,
so, COVID-19 has changed everyone's world, right?
That again.
Especially, organizations, how they do business, including talent selection. So when you get a phone call or an email that says we want to interview you, just make sure that you probably will get a Zoom. It'll be a Zoom interview probably, or it may be an asynchronous video interview. But in either case, expect a video interview. So what does that really mean? It means that you want to choose an aesthetic that works for you. So make sure that you've got some bright lights. Of course, your lighting is good, that you're wearing a good flattering color. If ever you watch Oprah show from back in 2000s, her whole audience was full of people who were wearing yellows and blues and pinks, primary colors, nothing pale. Let's not wash ourselves out, but colors that pop and stand out, colors that are also confident, right?
Right.
So be thoughtful about that aesthetic, and also practice in front of a mirror. Oftentimes if I had an interview via phone, I knew I could look like who done what. If I was at home on the phone with an interview, I had notes everywhere, and I really didn't think about how I didn't have to think about how I looked, to the interview, because it was all via phone. So make sure that you're comfortable practicing, and brush your teeth. Although people can't smell your breath, you can smell it. You feel how you feel when you've got good fresh breath. You can smile. You smile more. You articulate. Go ahead and brush your teeth. So even though they can't smell your breath, you still want to present yourself in a way that is fresh and that says you are prepared and polished.
Okay, I like that. So I also want to ask you about this makeup, because the way that my makeup can look in my mirror over the screen, depending on how that person's settings and lighting is set up, it could come across really different. So what advice would you have, just for women with that loves makeup like myself, like not what will we do to tone it down, but still be our authentic selves?
That's a good question. And I'll tell you what, being authentic is so key here. I think at the end of the day, we want to feel confident when we interview, right?
Okay.
So trying something new, makeup wise or hair wise, before a Zoom interview, not a good idea. Especially if you're not sure you like it, you're not sure, that'll come across, right?
Your confidence too, and they can see that.
And they can see that. Yep. So number one, always do the thing that's going to make you feel most confident, right? Number two, and we may have talked about this, red lipstick. I don't know if I was reading.
Yeah, we did talk about the red lipstick. Yeah,
we
talked about that.
I am of the opinion that do you? I mean, to the degree that you are flattering your features, to the degree that that you're comfortable with it, I say do you. And if someone has a problem with you wearing red makeup, that's not really about the red lipstick. That's not really about the red lipstick, right? But that's my philosophy. Because if you wear what you would wear if you were showing up to the interview in person. That's my thought. Now, if you want to do a trial run, I know sometimes I like to pull up, like I have a MacBook. I use Photo Booth. I use FaceTime and just say, hey, let's just do a little practice. And I watch for sheen, and I watch for other things. I might check for oil spots and all of that, or make sure I don't look too dry. But in terms of aesthetic and what colors to wear or not to wear, that's such a personal decision. I think to be authentic and make decisions that support your confidence, whatever you do.
Because one thing I started to do was, I don't do the red lipstick as much, but I have these leopard print glasses. So as soon as you turn on your screen, you just see a little cheetah right there. You see a little cheetah. And depending on how I feel, I just may do a really cute gloss, but those glasses are like a part of my superpower.
Yes.
So although what you may see is just the little cheetah print, know that that's only the beginning of what you could potentially see in your office. So I always do that, but a lot of times I don't do like color eyeshadow, but that's what's comfortable to me. Like those glasses, I know they're a big statement piece, and either people are gonna love them or people are not. And either way, I'm okay with that, because I want to work in a place where I belong. Right. I really belong. And if you have a problem with my glasses, we have other issues we need to be discussing.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate you saying that, to wear what makes you comfortable and what you're confident in, because that confidence shows. When people see that you're confident, they want to know more. They want to, even if you may not be the best candidate, but you have confidence in yourself, they're like, I want to know more about this person.
Yeah, so, like there's something about her that I like her. I just, there's something.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes, yeah, I definitely agree. So now we're going to transition to you dropping jewels on what are some questions that you should ask in either that phone interview, that second interview. What are questions we need to be asking?
Absolutely. Well, ask questions about the organization, the role, and the team. So, tell me about the organization. Of course, if you're working. Well, first, because COVID-19 has impacted a lot of companies, a lot of employers, so much, to, ask, how have you been financially impacted by COVID-19, and what are some strategies that you've implemented, to buffer any loss?
I like that question.
What's the culture? If you're looking for someone that's liberal, listen, Ben and Jerry's released a very, I don't know if you read that statement after, the Black Lives Matter statement, very clear cut, very in support of Black lives. They're definitely trying to dismantle some of that institutional racism. And so I appreciate that, right? Not every company is that forthcoming, but you can certainly ask questions to try to ascertain the culture. Again, do they have diversity goals? Do they have strategic goals? And also check out their social media. Check out their social media, go to Google, see what's going on with them, see if they have an IG page, or even a Twitter. You might learn something about them there.
Okay.
So about the role, very specific. So why is this role open? What's been working well in this role? What's not been working well?
That's a good one. I like that one.
Because I could present you, hey, I have a job as a baker, a cake baker for my restaurant. And you get there and, we talk, and it's not until you show up that you see my ovens are all busted and beat down and they're not calibrated correctly, or they're old. And then you find yourself as a chef, you're like, well, I'm really having to struggle and work harder to create the same kind of quality output. I wish I had known that you had maybe, I don't know, outdated equipment.
Right.
Or similarly, or I wish I had known that I didn't have the freedom to make any improvements myself. So are you going to a place where
you're pigeonholed and
yeah,
you're just doing your job, nothing more, nothing less. You're doing your job.
Because if they tell you what's not been working well, and then you ask them, well, will you have the flex and the freedom to make changes or implement your own ideas, and they tell you, I don't know, maybe, that might be a red flag, right? So it's almost like they want you to come in and suffer and not do anything about it. So okay, that's not really good.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Thank you. And then of course, tell me about, the expectations for this role on a monthly basis. We break it down monthly, quarterly, annually, even weekly, if that's what makes sense to you. What are some of the performance metrics against which I'll be held accountable? And then the team, learn about the people, especially if you're looking at a lead position, you really want to understand what you're getting. Like, is the team? Yes. Tell me about that team. First and foremost, has anyone else from this team or internally applied for this position, right? Because if you are selected for this position and your direct report wanted your job and wasn't selected,
that could be an issue.
Bingo. That could be a very dysfunctional dynamic, right? And then and just like, I wish I had known about this beforehand. So ask those questions about the team, anyone selected or anyone interviewed from the team for the position. If not, maybe you want to talk about digging on that. Is there a lack of talent? Are there performance gaps? Does no one want this job? If so, why don't they want this job?
Why would you think I would want it if nobody internally wants it?
Exactly. And then about the leadership. So who's that leadership? Who's your direct leader? What's the philosophy of leadership there? Team dynamics, but really ask about that. Team performance, et cetera, et cetera. I'm trying to be quick here. Opportunities for growth, right? So what do the growth opportunities look like?
I like that.
I really want to make sure if they say, we're a flat organization and we have a lot of room, and people are sort of people can create their own kind of a job, and or we really want to work with people to understand what their talents and their interests are to have some career planning. That's a good sign.
Okay.
If you're told, hey, this is a really big organization, we don't have a lot of, or it's a small org, we don't have a lot of turnover, we have a high tenure, so that means people don't churn a lot, they stay until they retire. So what does that mean for you? You're going to be in the same role for a long time.
You may not grow.
You may not. And then again, it comes back to, can I have stretch assignments? Do I have the flex to work, to come up with different ways to do my job? If not, that might be challenging for you too. And then of course, what about the compensation? This is probably one you want to make sure you cover during your, cover fairly early on during the phone screen. You don't want to commit to the next interview until you know what the compensation is going to be. Right?
Okay.
Flat out ask. So what's the compensation for this role, for this position? And then break it down. Is it bonus eligible? Is there any kind of a variable incentive, a bonus, quarterly bonus, annual bonus, profit sharing bonus? If this is an hourly position, is overtime capped? Right? How much overtime does a team work? On average, what does that look like? Of course, understand the merit increases. Have you had did your employees have a merit increase last year? On average, what was that increase? 2.5%, 3%. And also find out what's their cycle. So what's their business cycle? Are they on a calendar year, which is Jan 1 to December 31st?
That's a good point. I never
Right?
asked that one.
Or if are they on a fiscal year, which could be anything from October to September or July through June.
Okay.
That's also important because if you, let's say it's July, let's
Mhm.
say I'm thinking, you know what, I want to quit my job and go someplace, and I want to start with them in August. Okay, because I'm thinking that company is going to be, so I'm assuming they're on a calendar year. So if
Right.
I'm working August, September, October, November, December, I'm there for 5 months. I'm
Uh-huh.
eligible for some kind of a merit increase. It would be
Right.
a prorated merit increase effective January 1st. That's
Right.
my assumption. Now, if the company isn't, if they're on a fiscal year that goes July to June, then guess what? You just started if you start someplace in August, you're just starting early in their fiscal year. So you're going to wait a lot longer for a merit increase. Again,
Oh, wow.
just having that information, just having that
Okay.
understanding. And then of course, how frequently am I paid? You know, weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, most importantly, and I'll be brief here, listen to their answers. Do they give you straight answers that make sense?
Mm. And I don't think we do that enough.
We don't. I mean, read the body language too. Read it if you can read it via Zoom. You know, really pick up on everything. Cue every little cue, in addition to what they're telling you. If they're telling
Mhm.
you a lot of, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know, then why are you interviewing me for this position if you don't know, right? And so make a list, take a note of the things, because an I don't know does not get them off the hook either. If you're interested and you want to get more information, you want to get those questions answered, ask them. You know, I'd like to know, you know, I'd like maybe wait till toward the end of your questions. You know,
Mhm.
there are some things that you weren't quite sure about. Who can I talk to and get those answers? I'm really
Get
interested in getting that information. That's important for me to know as part of my decision making. Who can provide that for me? And then that tells you a lot. If they're telling you, oh, you know what, our HR coordinator can help you with that. I just don't know that detail. Reach out to so and so. They can get it for you. And if you don't get anything, they don't even tell you who is a resource. That should be
That's a
telling you.
red flag too.
Huge red flag. Huge red flag.
That's something to think about. So
Mm-hmm.
what should we not ask in the
That's
interview?
a great question. I'll tell you, I believe that everything is fair game.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, certainly as long as it relates to the position, the organization.
Yeah, the position, the role, and all those
Right.
things.
And the leader, right. So you're not going to ask, so how much money are you making? Right. Or how much money is the highest, you know, paid person on the team making? But I think you have every right to ask anything you want. I will tell you this. There's one thing I remembered when I was a recruiter, this question would burn me up. They would ask me at the very end, so do you think I'm a good fit for the job? And it was like, right. It was that it's like having 3 dates with someone and asking, so do you think I could be your wife? Like we're still moving through the
Right.
process, right?
Right. Right. We're
And
still dating.
we're still dating,
We're
right? And
trying to
so,
figure each other out. We don't know
right.
yet.
And I say that because any word uttered by an HR professional at at a company sounds like a promise, right? And so that's why I was always very cautious. Like, you can't say yes, you can't say no. Really, they're not going to tell you, yes, we want you. They're not going to, even if they want you, they will not be honest, because that's just how they're trained. You've got to go through the
The
whole
nature of the
process.
beast. Right.
Absolutely. So if you're really wanting to know how you did, I mean, I can tell you, you won't get an honest answer if you ask, so am I the best fit for the role?
And I used to ask for feedback in the interviews a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What feedback do you have? But I stopped asking that because there are times where I'll get the feedback and it's just like, I really don't agree with that actually. So I stopped asking it because I was looking for them to validate me. But if it's my experience and I'm sharing with you my experience, that's enough validation right there.
That's right, because we want to take a position of confidence. We know what we have to bring to the table. And so asking them, to your point, for feedback, you may get something really piddly or petty, like, well, I didn't like your eyeshadow. I mean, at the end of the day, how does that relate to
The job.
the essential functions of this job and my skill set, right? So I like that you said that. It really is about being firm in who you are, what you bring to the table, and not even giving someone an out. Don't give them permission to give you an out. Well, I just didn't like this. No, I don't want to do it.
Right. Okay, so that brings me to, this is my last question, I promise.
You're fine.
We have to know, as a job seeker, we have to know what questions that the job asks that's not like, you can't ask me this.
Yes.
Like in certain states, you cannot ask people what's their salary.
Yes.
I don't think you're supposed to ask like their marital status or anything like that. Okay. So what are some questions that the recruiters or the organization should not ask candidates?
Yep. Big questions. Big sort of, there are two categories. Some are sort of the big ones that they just cannot ask. And then the other category includes more subtle. There's subtle ways of them asking questions. Okay. But again, the interview questions should only pertain to the essential functions of the job and how well you're qualified to do that work. That's it. Okay. Things like, race, gender, national origin, religion, pregnancy status, age, disability, pregnancy, those, homosexuality, sexual preferences, those are things they cannot ask. They also can't ask about your health. So health, or a history of any kind of disability or anything like that. Okay. Of course, marital status, no bueno, no good. Okay. I've found that companies, especially in the DFW area, where everything is so spread out, and this was before COVID, when everyone was like, "Oh, we don't want to do we can't let you do work from home because whatever." Right? Look at the world now; we're all doing work from home.
COVID switched up the whole game for everybody. You cannot use that excuse.
That's it. And so people would I remember where we worked, actually, the coordinator was asking me, so, did you have a hard time finding the place? Nope, it was easy. And then she said, oh, do you live close? Because a lot of companies in that area, DFW area, would look at your resume, they look at the top of your resume. If you had your physical address on the resume, they would go in there and ways and figure out how far you live from work and estimate your commute and say, no, it would take her 45 minutes to get here. I'm going to disqualify her based on that. Right. So my resumes do not have address on it. And so naturally that coordinator was probably curious about where I'm coming from. So that's one of those, it's subtle. And again, it's probably out of date now that we've got COVID and everyone's working from home, but that's a subtle thing too. Let's see that, but that's a big one. Anything about children, mother status of, if you have children, I've had mothers are actually very forthcoming in saying, they're proud mamas, right? I have kids, I've got X, Y, and Z. And employers would look at your wedding ring, your wedding hand, and say, your ring finger on your left hand, and say, okay, I think she's a single mom. No joke. And so, mom is often the primary caregiver, even when you're married. And so when you're a single mom of multiple children, all they're thinking is absences, sick kids, kids events. She won't be at work a lot. Okay. So be cautious about anyone tiptoeing about how many kids you might have, or, your family, right? Who you live with, none of their business. Number 3, how you spend your weekends, your business, right? That gets into religion, right? How you spend your time on Saturday or Sunday. Okay. So, but anyway, anything that you do on Saturday, your business, not theirs. Or Sunday, your business, not theirs.
Ooh, yes. I'm gonna be looking real crazy now. I'm gonna be like, they trying to get in my business.
I mean, you really have to be thoughtful, because the people they're very crafty, and they hope that we don't know. They hope that the average job seeker is clueless about employment law and what they can get at. And that's different if they say this job requires, and any good HR person will recommend this in the job posting. This job requires weekend work once a month, right? So now when I ask you questions in the pre-screen, you know, I'd say this job, per our posting, this job requires working 1 weekend a month. Are you willing to do that? Yes or no? That's it. So if I don't have that in my posting and then I'm interviewing you and I'm asking you, so can you work on Saturday or Sunday? Well, that seems very, very personal. It seems
Right.
irrelevant to the job.
Right.
It seems intrusive. And so, you know, and so I would be nervous about that. And so I would ask, so if ever you get a question, you're not sure about how it relates to the job, you can ask. I'm sorry,
Okay.
can you tell me a little bit, can you tell me how that relates to this
To the
job?
job.
Can you tell me how this relates to this job? And that way, and they can say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can. This job requires, you know, weekend work this time once a month, you know, is that okay? Right. But if they're
Okay.
like, they don't really have a good answer, it probably sounds, they might be fishing. They might be fishing.
Okay. You already know that. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
every question should be directly geared towards the essential roles and responsibilities of the job that you're interviewing for.
Which is why I said, always have a copy of that job posting. If you can go grab it. And put it in like your OneNote or Word someplace so you have it, because everything that's pertinent to that job should be in that job description.
In the job description. Okay. Okay. And I never thought about having both at the job interview to always look back to see how that actually works. So I'm gonna start using that one too.
I mean, listen, they have your resume in front of them, right?
Yeah. And I even bring the resume sometimes just in case if you don't. But I have recently been interviewed where I was told, hey, we don't have your resume in front of us, so tell us about yourself.
Oh.
So sometimes, I don't know what happened. They just never got their hands on it. And I was okay with that too, because I still own the narrative. But I also wondered about that. You're not as prepared for my interview.
Bingo.
And I'm the candidate. I'm the candidate. So that was a huge red flag to me, because if you don't have my resume, then how are you going to compare that? I don't know. And I'm honest about what I'm telling you, but from a candidate experience standpoint too, doesn't seem like you were that happy or enthused,
interested. Well, and it's a respect thing. I'm spending my time, I'm interviewing with you, and you're not prepared enough to have a resume, and you realized before the call that you didn't have an interview, have a resume. So why didn't you call the recruiter, call HR, call someone, or go into the LMS or the tracking system and get that? So to me, and so then do we expect them to be able to give you good comprehensive answers when you have questions? Maybe they can, but again, that's a very bad first impression.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited and so thankful you were able to fill our crowns with these interviewing jewels. So
thank you for having me.
How can people connect with you?
Yes. So people can connect with me on cocaptain.co and book with me there. I'm listed as a life coach, but really it's career coaching right now, because things are a little bit topsy-turvy in my world here in Charlotte, North Carolina. My availability right now is only about 4 hours a week. So Wednesday nights and then Saturday. But certainly we can make a connection and figure out what kind of schedule works for you. Just knowing that evenings and weekends would be the primary times that I could actually spend with clients. So cocaptain.co, you can, or check me out on Instagram. It's Coach Kim Christopher. And then there is a link in my Instagram bio to cocaptain as well.
Okay. Yeah. That LinkedIn, no, it wasn't that Instagram picture was really, really cute. I love that picture. Yeah. It was very saucy. I like that.
Thank you.